So today is about autism and sensory processing problems. I've written something, I'm going to read it out and then going to analyse it. Having autism is sometimes difficult, especially when I have a sensory overload. And when I am in a sensory overload, sometimes I may not be able to express what is going on in my brain, and this makes me frustrated because I want to tell, but I can't find the words to express myself. I sometimes get anxious because I never know when a sensory overload is going to happen, and hence being anxious makes me more susceptible to having a sensory overload. And also having sensory overloads makes my even more anxious at the time because I have sensory overloads or I'm highly anxious. I don't take everything in that is happening around me. People don't understand autism. They think that I am being deliberately awkward and rude, but that is not the case at all. Sometimes they tell me to hurry up and talk, and this makes me upset because people don't understand me. This sometimes makes me depressed and anxious, and I sometimes may want to hurt myself or say I want to die at the time, but then I forget about it sometimes and get all happy again till it happens again. People need to learn to be tolerant and understanding of people with an autistic spectrum disorder. Also, another part I don't like about having an autistic spectrum disorder is when I am really stressed and anxious, I develop facial tics, and that makes me self-conscious about myself. But there are good things to having an autistic spectrum disorder, like being really good and knowledgeable about a special topic, which my special topic is researching and reading everything on autistic spectrum disorders. Now, what are some of the problems associated with sensory processing issues? Well, people with sensory processing problems can be either hyper or hyposensitive to sound, lights, colours, temperature, and motion, which means moving your body, which your heads move. For me, I have taken a holistic approach of treating my autism and sensory processing issues. For instance, I take magnesium for calming and helps with pain as well, and it helps with facial tics. Some of the triggers for sensory processing issues can be food, like gluten or dairy products. Chemicals, that could be any sort of chemical in food or hair products, makeup. Loud noises and crowds, and even changes in weather can disrupt my sensory processing issues. And also, if you don't have a regular sleep routine, it can disrupt sensory issues as well. So usually we advise that people go to bed at the exact same time, within 15 minutes of the time that they usually go to bed, and wake up at the same time as well. That way they have a normal regular sleep cycle. A quote from a book that I'm reading at the moment is, your nervous system can get really out of whack if you do not maintain a regular sleep-wake cycle. And that's from Karen DeFels, and that's from Enzymes for Autism and Other Neurological Conditions. Um, Also, with sensory processing issues, we get quite a lot of migraines as well. Well, especially me. Mine are more under control at the moment. Mainly because I've taken out gluten and dairy, and so I don't get a lot of all these migraines now. Um, but other stuff that can cause migraines are wheat, chocolate, cheese, bananas, and chemical additives. A really good book to read on sensory processing issues is The Out of Sync Child. Also, migraines are associated with food intolerances, seizures, epilepsy, hyperactivity, and environmental sensitivities. Like, people with sensory processing issues will have a lot of transitioning problems, and during that time they can feel pain and have a lot of confusion, which outsiders don't really understand. Um, and also with some people crave certain sensory processing stuff, and if they don't get it, this leaves the sensation best described as floating, detached, anxious, or confused. So for a lot of people with autism, they like weighted blankets, and I especially like that as well. And another good point to make is when the nerve in the gut experiences a distorted response, it can lead to digestive and eating problems, which is quite common in people with autism, ADHD, etc. Um, some parents have found taking their children to martial arts like taekwondo, especially really good for their sensory processing issues because it helps to get rid of their hyperactivity or and stuff like that, and helps to build their confidence. So to sum it all up, sensory processing issues and autism, the way to deal with it for myself anyway, being gluten and dairy free, no soya, no chemical additives to food products, so I make everything at home from mainly fresh vegetables and meats. I stay away from processed meats like sausages and bacon unless I know what is exactly is in it, because a lot of the processed food have chemical additives to it which my body can't cope with. And believe it or not, sausages are only got 1% meat in it, and the rest is all processed stuff like gluten and other stuff. Yeah, so I wear a hat, so it takes away, well, it blocks out the light that I don't like getting into my eyes. Erlen lenses would be really good to have, because it blocks out the white lights. And there's other stuff you can do as well, like I take cod liver oil, which helps with sensory processing issues and migraines, etc. There's a whole lot more I could talk about, which will be coming later on down the track. Thank you for watching, and I'll be sure to be back again to talk about some more stuff.